Hey, welcome to the Who Dares Wins podcast. My name is JP Ross, and this is my personal podcast. And I thought, in this episode, that I would just introduce who I am and a little bit about me, and what to expect from this podcast. First thing I'll say is, like I said, my name is JP. I'm from upstate New York. I'm white. That's going to be important because racial reconciliation, racial justice is super important to me. And so I'm going to be talking a lot about, what it means to be a white male. I will say a white male who's cisgendered, straight, Christian, basically like all the categories that I think people think are not like the most sensitive people and compassionate people. I would say like some of these groups have really done a number on like kind of ruining it for, I guess you could say, normative people, if we can even explain like what normal or normative means. So I'm really excited. I've been thinking about doing a podcast for a long time, and if you're a friend and you're listening now, you know that's the truth. I've always had something deep in my heart to say, and I just feel like I've had a lot of different experiences in life. I've had a long journey. I'm 40 years old, and so I just really feel deep in my heart that I've always wanted to have conversations, and I think that through conversations we can get to know one another, and that just like is kind of like a waterfall, and it just overflows into your community, it overflows into your family, it overflows into politics, into our music and art. So, so those are some of the themes and ideas that I'm thinking about for this podcast. Like I said, so I'm from upstate New York, so we're going to be exploring that also. Like, what does that mean? Like, being a white guy from upstate New York and like the things I've seen, but also exploring the misunderstandings and the confusion of growing up upstate, right? And so I've been learning a lot in the last few years that some of the conclusions I've made about where I'm from and the things I've seen were not completely the truth. And I think that's really important in a culture right now that is seriously divided. Like, we're so divided on party lines, we're so divided on culture and race, and there's so much vitriol going around that I just believe that there needs to be a dialogue that opens up space for people to really be vulnerable with one another. And so like that leads me to the name Who Dares Wins. Who Dares Wins is this idea that I'm daring you, and I'm daring myself through this podcast to push myself for something else, to believe something else, to maybe live a different way, to have a different perspective. As I'm a Christian, and so that will be coming out in some of the themes as well. But I would like to think that I'm a conscious Christian. I'm a rational thinking Christian. So you won't have to worry about, it's a conversation. So there'll be things that maybe you disagree with me on, and I would love for you to interact with me on it, and interact with my guests as well. I would love for you to, as you listen to the podcast, I pray that we would explore faith together, that we would explore what it means to be on a journey, that we would explain what it means to take risk, and what it means to dare, right? So it's like sometimes as a kid, we would play spin the bottle, and if it landed on you or the bottle pointed at me or you or someone else, we would say, I dare you to make out with such and such in the closet. And yeah, and so like, you either dare to do that I'm make out with that or something like that, or if you don't take the dare, then there was some kind of consequence, and I don't really remember the consequence, but I just like this idea of like daring us and taking a chance. A little bit of background on the name Who Dares Wins as well is that growing up, I was into hardcore punk music, and so I'll be talking about that as well, and how that shaped my understandings of culture and politics and life, and how I live my life today, actually, and even how I see God and how I experience Christianity is deeply rooted in what I learned from the hardcore community, from the punk rock community, from the arts and music. And so where I got this name from is because there was a band years ago that I really, really loved, and I still love today, even though I might not subscribe to some of the things that we sang about and stuff back then. But it was a band called Path of Resistance, and they were like this straight edge band, and really, really powerful band, almost like militant, and they were about like really, like building a movement really of a drug-free lifestyle and like having community impact. Some would say they were a bit like intense, but they had an album called Who Dares Wins, and one of the songs on the album, right, that was about the title of the album said, he who dies clean wins, she who dies clean wins, who dares wins. And so this idea for the podcast comes from this idea of like, he who stretches themselves, he who takes a risk to think another way, or to believe another way, or to learn a new truth, or maybe to see their neighbor as themselves, wins. And she who is able to hear as well and learn, and they, right? Because this is an open space, so we're going to probably talk to people that represent the queer community and the transgender community. We're going to explore all things because I care about a lot of different topics and a lot of different kinds of people, and I have so many different kinds of friends. And I think like as a Christian, I'm like responsible for like explaining that. You know what I mean? Like what does that mean? Like how do I, as my faith, live out with people that are different than me, right? And I think that that's beautiful, and I think it's amazing, and I think that we should be different, and we can learn together. Yeah, and so Who Dares Wins comes from like that album basically, and I just thought it was a really cool like name, so I went with it. And so you can be expected to be stretched, to take a risk, in faith, as a Christian, or in faith, or in religion. Like we could say that risk is faith. You have faith to believe in something that you can't see, yet you believe you already have it. And I would say in investments or in business, you take risks, and you take a risk, you do your research, you do your due diligence, but in the end you risk. And if you risk greatly, your reward will be even greater, right? And so you never want to take a low risk. I mean, you do sometimes, but like it's not about taking a low risk, it's about taking a risk, because that's really like how you make a profit, right? That's how you win. And so I want to encourage you to take a risk with me as we explore a host of topics. And I hope to have a lot of different guests. And I'm really excited because I want to explore all the different things that I've done and bring people in and just hear from like the host of amazing people that I've gotten to know, in just these last few years. And we're going to talk about all kinds of stuff: prison reform, law, homeless outreach, church, just like so many things, music, books. Hopefully we'll have authors. And so I'm really open. Like, you just let me know and I'll definitely take it into consideration. And so I hope you come and be a part. I'm really excited. This has been the first episode, our intro episode. I'm JP, and this is Who Dares Wins.